Ice preserves things. Everyone knows that. Bodies found in glaciers thousands of years old, still recognizable. Mammoths frozen in permafrost, flesh intact. But what most people don't understand is that ice doesn't just preserve, it displays. And in Glacier National Park, when the lakes freeze over in winter, they display things that were never meant to be seen. My name is Claire Winterhawk, and I'm a winter ranger for Glacier National Park in Montana. My grandfather was Blackfeet, and he taught me the old stories about the lakes. In winter, the water becomes a window, he'd say. It shows you what it's collected over the years. But looking through that window means the things on the other side can look back at you, and some of them want out. I thought they were just stories until January 2024 when I learned what's really preserved under the ice. It started with a routine winter patrol. Most of Glacier closes in winter, roads buried under 10 feet of snow, trails impassable. But we still do backcountry checks, avalanche monitoring, making sure the few winter campers who brave the cold are doing it safely. I was checking on Lake McDonald, coordinates 48.5975 Degin, 110.9344 Degaradi, one of the park's largest lakes and usually completely frozen by January. The ice was thick that year, 3 feet at least, safe to walk on, clear as glass, and that's when I saw the first one. A man, frozen beneath the ice about 15 feet down, perfectly preserved, wearing 1950s clothing, wool coat, fedora, leather boots. He was suspended in the water in a standing position, arms slightly raised, face tilted up toward the surface. Toward me, his eyes were open. I keyed my radio. "Base, this is Ranger 4-2. I've got what appears to be human remains visible through the ice at Lake McDonald, approximately 200 yards from the west shore. Requesting recovery team." "Copy that, 4-2. Can you describe the condition?" "Perfectly preserved. Appears to be from the 1950s based on clothing. Victim is standing in the water, eyes open." Long pause. 4-2, repeat that last part. "The body is in a standing position, vertical, not floating, not lying down, standing under the ice." Another pause. "Stand by, 4-2. While I waited, I examined the ice around the figure more carefully. That's when I noticed he wasn't alone. Moving along the shoreline, following the clear ice, I counted 6 more, all standing vertical beneath the surface, all at different depths, some 20 feet down, others 50 or more, all facing upward, all with eyes open. Different time periods. A woman in 1920s dress, a hiker in 1970s gear, a child in what looked like 1800s pioneer clothing. 3 others too deep to make out details, but all in that same impossible standing position. And all of them were looking at me, not just facing the surface, tracking my movement. As I walked along the ice, their heads would slowly turn, following, not their bodies, just their heads, rotating with a smooth, unnatural motion that shouldn't be possible for frozen corpses underwater. My radio crackled. 4-2, this is Chief Rawlings. Don't approach the figures. I repeat, do not approach. Mark the location and return to base immediately. Copy, but Chief, there are multiple bodies here, at least 7 that I can see. We need recovery teams, forensics. Ranger Winterhawk, this is a direct order. Mark and retreat. Do not spend additional time on the ice. Do not make eye contact with the figures. Return to base now. The way he said my name, my grandfather's name, told me this wasn't protocol. This was something else, something specific to my heritage, my family's knowledge of these mountains. I marked the GPS coordinates and started back towards shore. That's when I heard it, tapping, coming from beneath the ice. Not random, rhythmic, deliberate, like Morse code, but in a pattern I didn't recognize. I looked down. The 1950s man was directly beneath me now, still 15 feet down, but somehow he'd moved to stay under my position. His mouth was closed, but I could hear his voice, muffled by ice and water. But clear enough, "Help me, I've been down here so long. Please help me up." I ran, forgot protocol, forgot documentation, just ran across that ice toward shore. Behind me, the tapping got louder. spreading across the lake like 1,000 frozen hands hammering on the underside of the ice. And the voice multiplied, 7 voices, overlapping, all saying the same thing. Help us up. Let us out. It's so cold down here. I made it to shore and didn't stop running until I reached my vehicle. Drove straight back to headquarters where Chief Rawlings was waiting with an expression that said he'd been expecting this call eventually. Sit down, Claire. We need to talk about Lake McDonald and St. Mary Lake and all the other bodies of water in this park that freeze solid in winter. He pulled out a file, not a standard park file. This was older, handwritten records going back to the park's founding in 1910. Every winter, we get reports of figures visible through the ice, dozens of them across all our major lakes, all standing vertical, all appearing to track observers, all calling out to be released. What are they? We don't know what they are now. We know what they were. People who drowned in these lakes over the past century, hikers, swimmers, boaters, everybody we've never recovered. But something about the way they're preserved here, something about the particular chemistry or geology or temperature of these glacier-fed lakes, they don't decompose, they don't float. They sink and stand and wait. Wait for what? For someone to break the ice and pull them up. That's what your grandfather tried to explain to my predecessor 40 years ago. The Blackfeet knew not to fish these lakes in winter, not to walk on the ice. Because the preserved ones, they're not dead anymore, not alive either, suspended in between. And they want up. They want the warmth of the living world, and they'll take it any way they can. He showed me photos from the 1960s, a recovery team that tried to extract one of the figures. They cut through the ice, sent divers down. The moment they touched the body, it moved, grabbed the diver, pulled him deeper. The other divers tried to help, and the figures grabbed them too. All 4 divers lost. Found 3 days later, standing under the ice themselves, eyes open, mouths moving soundlessly, begging to be pulled up. So we don't recover them, Chief Rawlings said. We mark the locations. We warn winter visitors to stay off the ice. We file reports that go into this cabinet and nowhere else. Because the moment someone breaks through to try and help, the preserved ones can come up. And whatever comes up isn't what went down. I spent the next week researching. Historical records showed 127 people had drowned in Glacier's Lake since the park opened. Bodies recovered, 34. Still missing, 93. I went back to Lake McDonald with Chief Rawlings, brought a high-resolution underwater camera on a pole. Careful not to crack the ice, we lowered it through a small drilled hole and took footage of what lay beneath. The footage showed all 93. Every single missing person from Glacier's history, standing in vertical formation beneath Lake McDonald and the other lakes, arranged in circles and patterns that suggested organization. Intelligence. And they were all connected, thin tendrils of something ice-like but organic, linking them together in a network that covered the entire lake bottom. It's not just that they're preserved, Chief Rawlings said, watching the footage. They're being cultivated. Something down there is keeping them in this state, using the ice and cold as a medium, farming them, and in winter, when the lakes freeze solid, it displays its collection, like a museum or a trap. Trap for what? For the living, for anyone who sees them and feels compelled to help. Anyone who breaks the ice becomes part of the collection, part of the network. The 1950s man I'd seen, we identified him. Robert Chen, 42, disappeared while ice fishing in 1957. His family had searched for him for months. Now he was standing 50 feet below the surface, mouth moving in an endless request for help that would doom anyone who tried to provide it. Here's what haunts me. That night, I dreamed about Lake McDonald. Dreamed I was under the ice, standing with the others, cold but not freezing, aware but not quite alive. And I could feel them, all 93, connected through that organic network, sharing thoughts and sensations, and the overwhelming desire to be pulled up into warmth. When I woke, my windows were frozen solid despite the house heater running, and on the ice, written in frost, were the words, "We saw you too, we'll wait for you." The winter season continued. We marked Lake McDonald and 6 other lakes as off-limits, citing unstable ice conditions. Most people listened. But in March, just before the spring thaw, a group of ice fishermen ignored the warnings, set up on Lake McDonald. drilled holes, started fishing. The preserved ones rose. Not pulled up, they came up on their own. Through the fishing holes, through cracks in the ice. Emerging one by one, water streaming from their perfectly preserved bodies, eyes finally blinking after decades of stillness. The fishermen ran. 3 made it off the ice. 2 didn't. We found them the next winter, standing beneath the ice with the others, wearing their 2024 winter gear, eyes open, mouths moving. Help me, let me out. It's so cold down here. The thaw should have ended it, should have released them. But when summer came and we sent divers to check, the preserved ones were still there, still standing, still organized in their circles and patterns. The ice had just been a window showing what was always there, always waiting. And now they're waiting specifically for me. Because I saw them, made eye contact. They tracked me across the ice. In their suspended state, that created a connection, a link. Every winter since, I have dreams where I'm standing under the ice with them. Every winter, the frost messages appear on my windows. And every winter, I feel the pull toward Lake McDonald, toward walking out onto that clear ice and seeing them again. Maybe understanding what they want, maybe hearing their full message. Chief Rawlings warned me. Your grandfather refused to work winter patrol in Glacier for exactly this reason. Once the preserved ones see you, really see you and track you, they mark you as potential addition to their collection. Most rangers who experience this transfer out within a year. The ones who stay, well, we've had 4 rangers go missing on these lakes over the decades, and every one of them showed up the next winter, standing under the ice with the others. I'm still here, still working Glacier, but I stay away from the frozen lakes in winter. Mark them from aerial photos, coordinate closures from the office. Never set foot on that clear ice again. Because I know what's down there. Know they're waiting. Know they've organized themselves into something more than individual drowned victims. They've become a network, a collective consciousness preserved in the unique chemistry of glacial lakes, sustained by the annual freeze that lets them display themselves and search for new additions. And they're patient. They've been patient for decades, some for over a century. They can wait years more for me to make a mistake, to forget the warnings, to walk back out onto that ice. Stay away from frozen lakes in Glacier National Park in winter. Not because the ice is unstable, it's usually the safest ice you'll find anywhere, but because when it's clear enough to see the bottom, you'll see what's been preserved there, and it will see you back. And once they see you, once they track your movement and mark you as aware of their presence, you become part of their waiting, part of what they hope to add to their collection when you inevitably return. The preserved ones aren't natural. They're cultivated, maintained, displayed, and they're always recruiting.